Hey guys, how you doing? Tom again, back for more punishment. Hey, listen, I wanted to talk in this video. I wanted to talk about the visa extension process, or at least some information about it that might be helpful to you guys. I'm in Manila, so the stuff that I'm talking about pretty much is how things are working here currently. Um, Now, there's a few locations, right? I don't know, there's at least three or four, I would say, locations in Manila where you can go, the Bureau of Immigration, where you can go and extend your visa. The closest one to where we are is in Quezon City at the SM North EDSA Mall, which is one of the biggest malls in the Philippines. It used to be the biggest until the Mall of Asia added on a IKEA to their mall, and then now they're the biggest. That was like a few years back. But I think before that, it was the EDSA was like the biggest, and it's huge, man. I mean, you walk in and there's like an annex section, which is actually where the government office is. Okay, and then there's another building, So in other words, there's like two buildings that are part of this mall. Like you have to actually literally get out, exit the one building, cross the street, then there's another building. Because the first time we just went to the other building, and we didn't know. We're looking around and then asking for directions, and people said, "Oh, finally somebody said, hey, it's the annex building. It's the next building." So we figured out. Then after that, of course, we knew where it's at. It was on the lower level, I believe, of the annex building. It's right next to the bowling alley. There's a nice bowling alley there, right next to it, on the same floor. Literally next to it. They also have billiards and ping pong, you know, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, so that's obviously one of the. It's a satellite office. The main office, I think, in Manila is in the Intramuros area. I'm positive that there's another office in Makati. Now there could be, and I think there might be another one, or one or two more, like in other parts of Manila or whatever, other like satellite offices. But I know that, like I said, there's at least three. So anyway, the one we go to is surprisingly, like it's very smooth. Like not a lot of waiting. Everybody, you know what I mean. You might have heard stuff. You might have watched videos from maybe from vloggers that are in small cities or whatever, and they're like, oh, they pay some visa guy to get their visa form because they don't want to wait for 2 hours or whatever. Well, it's really not a lot of waiting here. Okay. um, like basically, and you fill out this real basic form that kind of just has your height, your weight. They do want that information, like in metric. You know what I mean? Your height in meters and your weight in kilograms. Okay. So guess what? You could either figure that out before you go to this office and fill out this form, or if you got your smartphone with you, you could just Google it. If you got data, whatever, because you're not going to get Wi-Fi probably there. you know, you go to a mall in the Philippines and you're not necessarily going to get Wi-Fi, at least not on a U.S. phone. You can sign up for these free Wi-Fi things, but you got to have a Philippine phone number. You can't be, if you're using your American phone number still, American phone, it's not going to work. So hopefully you'll have data or whatever, right? Um, if you don't have a Philippine phone number, you know what I mean? You might have U.S. data that'll work. So, but you could just Google it, like what is you know, uh, 56 inches or 66 inches is how many meters or whatever, or centimeters. It's centimeters, and it'll tell you. You know what I mean? Like just Google it. Same thing with the weight. 90 whatever, 89 kilograms is how much pounds, or vice versa. It's going to be vice versa, right? Like, okay, 180 pounds or 190 pounds or whatever it is this much kilograms. So, but the rest of it's like your address, like where you're staying in the Philippines, your home address, other questions. How long are you extending and all that? How many days? And just put that down. How many months? You put that down. It's pretty easy to fill out. I mean, don't freak out about it. And there's people there that are helpful that will help you out. You know what I mean? It's very, at least the one I go to, it's very helpful. Um, but yeah, you fill that out, you give it to the guard, then you sit down, and maybe like 5, 10 minutes later, I mean, if there's not a lot of people there, which I've been there 3 times now, and it's like I haven't had to wait really. So they call your name, right? You go in there, and then you give the lady, the actual immigration lady, your passport. They do want to see your vaccine card. At least they did the first time. Uh, you know, want to see your vaccine card and stuff like that. So um, and then they kind of do their thing, and then you get a little ticket thing, and you wait a little bit, and then they'll give you a ticket thing that you sign. It's like a receipt. You sign both copies, and they usually get both of those copies, and it'll have on there how much it's going to be, and then you basically come back in an hour. Like they'll tell you to come back in an hour. Now, if you want to do the express, by the way, you want to pay the extra amount for the express, which could be about 1,000 pesos extra. But if you don't, then it's one of those deals where you're going to come back 3 days later to pick up your extension, your visa extension. And who wants to do that? That's another, like, how many pesos of a taxi, round trip taxi ride or whatever. If you don't have a car here, if you do have a car, you're paying for gasoline, and gas is not cheap, you know. And if you take a taxi, it's whatever, 300-400 pesos each way. And then who wants to do that, right? So I'll just pay the 1,000. It's $20. It's not even $20 with this current exchange rate. Pay the extra for the express and get it the same day. And the only thing is, yeah, they'll tell you to come back in an hour. Okay. Well, guess what? You're at the biggest, you're one of the biggest malls in the Philippines. You can find something to do for an hour. You know what I mean? Just walk around, maybe go get a coffee, go get a tea, go get whatever you want. Walk around a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you go back. Okay. You go back in an hour. Boom. You go in there. You go up to the window. You pay the gentleman. He gives you your receipt. Go back to the other window right away. She gives you everything written out, your extension and everything, and your passport back, and your vaccine card or whatever else you gave them. They give all that back to you, and you're done. You know, so it's pretty smooth. Now after the 59, when I did the 50 after the 59-day, basically extension where you're going forward for 59 days, that's when you sort of apply for and you pay for your ACR card, which is an Alien Certificate of Registration. So it's like a local Philippine ID, okay? It's almost like a driver's license, except it's not a driver's license, but it's like a state ID, like what they have in the US. It's kind of like that. And you can get that, you put in for that, you pay for that at that on that 59-day mark. But it's going to take a month for it to be ready, okay? So what I would advise, okay, and I found out, the hard way. I thought it was going to be ready like exactly in 20 or 21 business days, like it said, but they've been kind of busy, and there have been a couple of holidays, and that take away from the business days. And there was for weather, they had excessive rain a couple days during that time, during that last previous month, so they weren't open, so they weren't ready yet. The ACR card wasn't ready yet. So when you do your 59-day, after your 59 days, do 2 months. Like, don't do 1 month. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to come back here in a month anyway to get my card, so I'll just do a month. Because that's what I did, and the card wasn't ready. So yeah, just do. I mean, if you're gonna stay here, you know what I'm saying. If you're gonna stay here that long, especially if you're gonna be living here, just do the 2 months. Don't do like 1 month. And guess what? I actually wanted to do 6 months this time, right? Because I always heard like, oh yeah, you could do 1, 2, or 6 months. But unfortunately, I found out that in Manila, I guess the only place that does, if you're not married to a Filipina, if you're not married to your girlfriend or just single and not whatever, not married to a Filipina, they won't do a 6 month extension except for the main office in the Intramuros neighborhood. Okay. So I wasn't about to go there. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm already here. So I just did 2 months, you know. Now I could just, before I go back in 2 months, you know, to extend again, I could just wait at that point and then get my ACR card. Or I could probably get my ACR card if I wanted it within the next week or so. I'm sure it'll be ready. It might be ready now. It's been almost whatever. I think it's been almost, I don't know, a little less than a week, I think. But it could be ready. But you know, but the only reason I would do that is because, believe it or not, guys, you can get discounts here, like at the drugstores and stuff, with an ACR card, like about a 20%. Like I think Watson's, they offer discounts. You know, if you have an ACR card. Aside from just if you just have a passport or a license or whatever, American license, that's just for ID purposes. I'm not sure about Mercury if they give also those discounts, but they do give seniors too. If you're over 60 and you go into, I think it's Mercury or Watson's, you can go to the front of the line, or you know, you can go to the short line or whatever, the senior line, you know. So if there's a lot of people there, you know, you show up and there's like 6 people in front of you in the regular line, and there's nobody in the, you know, you could just go to the other one, which is kind of cool, you know. And I think it's only 60 and over. You don't have to be 65, you know, like you do sometimes in the U.S., you know. So, but anyway, but that's, yeah. So that's what's going on with that. Like like I said, I'm not sure. You know, I might get it. You know what I mean? Because it might benefit me, you know, to have the ACR card like now. Maybe I'll save some money, you know. But we'll see, you know. It's no big deal. She said either way, the lady at the immigration said you could wait till when you come back, you know, in 2 months to get it if you want. You know, it's up to you, you know. I've got evidence of it that I paid for it. I've got the paper with the receipts. So if anyone ever asks me or something, you know, I got all the, you know what I'm saying? The receipts for everything. So. But yeah, it's a pretty smooth process though. You know what I mean? Like, and I would rather come back in an hour, okay, you know, than come back in 3 days. So and basically, just so you know, it the first time when I extended, right, which you know, basically you get the 30 days when you arrive in the Philippines, you get an automatic 30-day kind of like visa stamp in your passport. And before that 30 days is up, you have to extend. If you're going to stay longer, you have to extend. And at that point, so you just extend for 59 days total. So it's like you're extending for 1 month, basically, initially. That's all you can do. And at that point, the when you're that costs about that 1 month, that initial 1 month, you know, extension thing was like 2,000 peso. But again, that's with the express, you know, like, so in other words, it might have been 1,000, but then you pay another 1,000 for the express, so it's 2,000 pesos, which is not even $40. It's like $37 or something like that now, $36. So, and then after that, the ACR card is not cheap. You know what I mean? Like, because when I extended beyond 59 days, and that was just for 1 month, uh, and most of the fees were, you know, like I said, it wasn't even, probably not even 2,000 for the actual extension, and then there was like another 6,000 for the ACR card. You know what I mean? And it might have been more than that because then there was an express for that too, I believe. I think they charge, well, they charge an express for the visa, and then they charge like an express, I believe, for the card. So it was like 1,500 total or something instead of just 1,000. So, but it was like, yeah, I forget. It was like, I don't know. It was like over 7,000, I think, total. I remember being surprised, like, oh man, I'm glad I had that on me. You know, I'm glad I had that much on me. You know, because you do want to bring more than what you need. Don't bring, whenever you go somewhere in the Philippines, a store, don't just bring what you think it's going to be. You know, like unless you want to try and use a credit card or something. bring more than you need, you know. Because the first time I went to SNR, I was a little short in the cash, you know, and we wound up. It was one of those embarrassing moments in shopping or whatever, where you know you're, oh shit, you know, I don't have enough money, so they had to take back like maybe 4 items. You know, it wasn't a lot, but it was like 4 or 5 items. And yeah, that was really that, you know, kind of embarrassing or whatever. But you know, it happens in the States probably. Might have happened to all of us at least once in our lives, right? But for that reason, like from there on, I always bring more than I need. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that to happen. You know. But but yeah. So basically, you know, it's like an interesting note in closing here is that when I just did the last 2 months, you know, that I just did, it was less than the first time when I did 1 month. It was actually only 1,830 pesos, I think, for 2 months. So I mean, that's pretty cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, yeah. So now I'm gonna probably need to do 2 more months after this 2 months is over, and hopefully that'll be it because I'm doing my uh, SRRV military courtesy visa. So hopefully I should have that by then. You know. So, but I'll let you guys know when that's done and how that process was. You know what I mean? I'll talk about that in another video down the line, probably at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. You know, that's about it, guys. But I got one more video coming, so so like I said, feel free to comment, like, and I appreciate if you subscribe too. I really appreciate that. You know, you guys who are watching. You know, so all right, have a great day. Okay, I'll talk to you later.